sit before a pool that is not a mirror and call it by the name the forest taught me, and the water answers with all the places my heart split like thin ice. Night is a patient thing here. It does not hurry and it does not forgive. It simply folds itself around the ferned alcove where I keep my hands and my habits. I learned to tend the water like an altar, brush the fallen moss away, whisper the old tally of names, breathe until the lantern smoke smells of memory and rain. The pool will not show my face the way a glass does. It lifts the skin of me and reveals the maps under, the cartography of impulses and regrets. Sometimes it offers impatience, the hunger for quick fixes, for bending light and insect lore to my will because grief is a greedy thing. The pool shows the night I pocketed too many of the fireflies, how my hands closed when they should have opened. That image is not a stratagem. It is a seam I must study, the thread that made my wrists tight and my steps small for a very long time. It shows me the ledger of small selfishnesses, the nights I refused a visitor because it would interrupt ritual. And then the pool softens. It brings tenderness like glow through leaves. The hours I hummed a song to a soul that was weakening. The way my breath steadied a shaking jar as if soothing glass could steady a heart. It reveals the way I mended a sage's cloak by moonlight, sewing patience into frayed hems, humming old chants. The water remembers how I laughed once at a moth that mistook my lantern for a star, and how that laughter felt like a thin, surprising rain on a land I had thought forever barren. Sometimes the surface shows me things I did not know I had kept, like a pocket of light folded into my dress, a memory of being soft when harsh was expected, a secret kindness I had buried beneath ritual. Other times the pool brings flashes of a woman I do not think of until the water names her. An old woman with book-worn hands, a tea-stained smile, eyes like sedimented stories. The images of her are threaded through the forest's earlier seasons, a ledger of winters and mercies, a history that twinkles behind everything that grows here. She appears in shawls, in footprints, in the way the moss remembers the placing of a jar. Watching the pool, I learn her constellations, her small apologies, the way she closed a door and left a lantern burning as if to say someone might need the light later. The pool does not let me be noble in my mistakes. It makes me small and human. And that humiliation is a coolness that wakes me up more than any reprimand could. But there is mercy in its stillness too. Images of my best nights arrive like a gentle procession. Me tilting a small jar to the moon so an old voice could ride a path of light. Me naming a lost soul's favorite tree so that the forest might remember him by scent. I see my hands holding a firefly until its wing stilled. And the memory is not triumph, but something holy and unbearably tender. The kind of love that trembles and knows its limits. The ferned alcove around the pool hums with small votives. Jars hang like borrowed moons. Acorns hold whispers. And in the mist, every small light becomes a syllable of some long, difficult prayer. I speak to the water the names I can remember, and the pool turns those syllables into light, showing me that names are bridges, and that tending them is both weight and grace. The pool sometimes asks, what is preservation but another kind of refusing to let go? And I answer with hands that smell of smoke and lilies, because sometimes holding is the only language I know for love. Yet the images teach me the other side of holding. The nights I kept a swarm too close, And in doing so, I blurred the edges of my own days until my life was only tending and not living. The old woman's face appears again in a corner of the water, smaller than the rest. An apologetic moon that has learned when she must risk warmth for truth.
The pool will show me faults and gifts without judgment at once. In its surface there is no gavel, only reflection and the slow curriculum of becoming. When my lantern dwindles and the fireflies drift like loose prayers into the fog, I lean close and see, in the deepest parts of that water, a map of the forest stitched with light, and the small label with letter E is held, not as sentence, but as stewardship. There is a lesson in the water I have always feared. That memory is not a treasure to be locked and displayed, but a living thing that needs air. I close my eyes then, and let the pool teach me how to untie the tight knots, how to open a jar and let the light carry what it must, even if it means my hands will no longer be full. The ferned alcove fills with the sound of distant wings and my breath, and in the hush the water shows me a last image before I stand. A path lighted by fireflies, and a silhouette waiting at the edge of vine and fog, not to take from me, but to meet me where I have been. The pool does not teach me how to vanish from duty, nor does it absolve. It teaches me how to hold without caging, how to be both keeper and passer, and how little lights can be both chains and keys. I leave the alcove with the taste of wet stone, with jars neither overfull nor starved, and I walk the route paths listening for the small bright steps of what will come next, trusting that memory itself deserves air and a road to travel. There is courage in unhanding what we keep for the wrong reasons, and a strange grace in allowing light to leave the palm that once clasped it tightly. In the hush between lantern and fog, I think, to tend is not only to protect, but to know when protection becomes imprisonment. And that is the clearest kindness we can give to what we love.